Welcome back, listeners of Years, to another week of education, the Teachers Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back with the first episode of 2025. We have made it thus far into our tenure as podcasters. We've eclipsed the 100-episode mark. We started this in 2023, early 2023, and here we are, early 2025. So we're bopping right along. But we are here this week to pick. You had picked a movie to talk about this week. All-time classic. What are we talking about this week?
Yes, we were talking about the 1960 Alfred Hitchcock Psycho.
It is important to mention it's the 1960 Psycho because there is a remake of this movie.
Oh, well, guess what? I was on the right track then. I watched the old one.
Good.
The original.
Gus Van Sant made a shot-for-shot remake of this movie.
Okay.
Starring Vince Vaughn and Anne Heche somewhere in the 90s. And it got hit hard. It was there was nothing new to it. 1998. People were like, "Oh, that's going to be so exciting."
Nope.
There was nothing to enjoy. There's nothing to enjoy. Because again, it's shot for shot remake. Like your hand is going to be in the same place as the hand in the original, and so making a movie like that's got to be incredibly hard when you're trying to make it look exactly like, but at the same time, there's no creativity, there's no imagination.
Yeah.
They changed some of the details of the script a little bit, just because $40,000 in 1998 is not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're talking about Hitchcock's classics. So your pick. So
yes.
My New Year's resolution is to shut up more on
No.
the show. And so I will chime in occasionally as we go along. But it's your movie, so run with it.
All right. So we start out, we've got this real estate agent, secretary, Marion, and her and her boyfriend, Mr. Loomis.
Yeah, Sam Loomis. The namesake, I should say, because again, my resolution was to talk less. But Sam Loomis, the last name Loomis is also Billy's last name in the Scream movies.
Yes.
And Sam Loomis is also the name of Michael Myers' psychiatrist in the Halloween series.
Yes, Dr.
Sam Loomis. So
yes.
a lot of influence this movie has had.
I did catch on there, but because usually I'm like, I don't remember where I heard that from.
All right, I'm back to shut up.
So, anyways, Sam cannot propose to his girlfriend Marion because he's got so much debt, and so they just kind of discuss that. We get a little rundown, and we've got this property that wants to be bought. This I don't remember who this rich guy is, brings in $40K.
Yeah. Marion, like you said, she's a secretary at a real estate office.
Yes.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes.
Sam is from California. So how they met, I don't know.
Yeah. eHarmony.
Yeah, probably. Bumble. And so, yeah, it's like, you're right. Like, that's the catalyst for the film. Sam's in debt. Marion wants to marry him. And, yeah, then this fast-talking, slick cowboy.
He comes in with $40K cash, and he's like, keep it here,
yeah.
And like, they're like, no, like, take it. Like, we'll take a check or something.
Right.
Like, take it to the bank. And,
no, I trust you. You're good for it. What's going to happen? This money's going to go missing? Like,
yeah, like, no, because Marion has worked for this guy for years, and she's like, I'll take it to the bank for you, sir.
Yeah,
and he's
I'll
like,
go right now.
Thank you. So she takes it, not to the bank, to her house.
Well, it's
like she's gonna fix this debt situation, and they're gonna get married.
Right.
So she is gonna drive from Arizona to California. After she gets pulled over, she switches cars.
A lot of guilt.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she's a pretty strong woman, but a lot of internal monologue going on. A lot of that policeman's looking at me funny.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't even remember why he pulled her over, but she's like, he has to know I stole money.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, no, honey, like, no one knows that you've stolen money yet. And she trades cars in, This part, it wasn't funny, but it was kind of humorous. Like the salesman's like, man, usually the customer's not the pushy one, but
Yeah.
she's like, just give me a car. Like,
I need a car. I need it now. Take mine as a trade-in. I need it now. Let's go.
There's a storm, so she has to stop at this hotel that she drives by. And we meet the property owner, hotel manager, Norman Bates. Mm-hmm. Who...
Nice guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a sweetheart.
He's energetic, wiry, like, hey, we don't get a lot of visitors. We're so glad
we're gonna give you the best room.
Yeah, like you could tell he's very excited to have a customer.
He is super pumped. Invites her to dinner.
Yeah.
And then he heads back to his house to let mom know, like, hey, we got a guest coming. And you can just hear the bickering that happens. Like, mom
is super loud because the house is like way up on a hill.
It is.
And you can hear it crystal clear.
Yeah. She's screaming, just like, you don't invite guests when I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So he comes back down, hey, mom is not herself. Like, she's not doing too good. So unfortunately, like, you can't come to dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. They have dinner together down there. They talk a little bit about his...
Makes her sandwiches.
Yeah. And they talk about his hobby. He's a taxidermist. Cool hobby. And then it gets a little weird from here.
Yeah, and a lot of camera angles add to that weirdness. But again, we get the vibe pretty quickly that while Norman is a nice guy and Norman is upbeat, when you grow, like, here's an adult man still living with his mom, running a barely open roadside motel.
Yeah. And like he even said, like, my mom had this boyfriend and he could basically make her do anything.
Yeah.
And he made her open this hotel, and so now I'm running it because he mysteriously died.
Yeah.
Okay. Marion is like, maybe you should put your mom in a home because she's unwell and she is ill and they could help her. And he's like,
get her some help.
In a home, like put her in an institute, like she's not crazy.
Would you say?
Like,
he's angry with her, which he's very. Boy loves his mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, later that night, he heads back up after dinner, and she starts getting undressed, getting ready for bed, take a shower. Unpacking.
She's also thinking about, like, her guilty conscience kicks in full force, and she decides, I can't keep this money.
Yeah, I gotta go.
After this, in the morning, I'm going to drive back to Phoenix. I'm going to return it. And like, she hadn't talked to Sam or anything. This is all of her own decision of, like, I'm better than this.
Yes.
I'm going to get in trouble. I'll probably lose my job.
But she won't be guilty anymore.
I'm going to do the right thing.
And
we see Norman.
We understand why he put her in room number 1.
Yeah.
And he's just creeping. Like, he's got a little hole to watch her through.
Mm-hmm. And
so he's peeping in there. We get her heading to the shower, and we get, like, the infamous shower scene.
Yeah.
Where this shadow comes up. But really, it's Norman's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she stabs and kills Marion.
Yeah, if you don't know the psycho shower scene, one, why are you listening to our show?
Yeah.
Like, this is a horror podcast.
I had never seen this movie, but I knew.
But even that, you
knew
the shower scene. You knew the shower scene. And so, it's that shower scene. Do you know who Janet Leigh is?
Not off the top of my head.
I mean, she plays Marion. She's the blonde here in the movie. She's Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. Laurie Strode from Halloween. And so, yet another little connection. It's just fun. Like, I like the fun little community that horror has of John Carpenter makes Halloween. He names his main good guy, Sam Loomis, after Psycho. He cast the daughter of Psycho star Janet Leigh as his fresh-faced, final girl. And And it's like, I love it. It's like, you know, Carpenter goes out and then he makes a classic with Halloween that's, you know, Butcher Knife, Janet Leigh's daughter, Sam. It's like there's still a lot there, but it's obviously nothing like Psycho. But it's just the influences. You don't see many other film genres that influence other movies in the genre the way that horror does.
Right. You're not getting a rom-com with the same name as,
or the same jokes. Like,
right.
You can't do that in a comedy. You can't keep dropping the same jokes. You know, drama. I feel like horror is such a. It sounds off. But it's like such a polite, constructive sandbox that I'm like, if you want to be influenced by something somebody else did in their movie, go for it. Like, they're not going to be offended. Where you get the vibe that in a lot of music is the same way. Like, you can't copy my music, but you feel like hip hop and rap are kind of that sandbox of like, this is what we do. We sample from other people because we're inspired by them, and we create new from that inspiration. And horror is very similar to that.
Yes, most definitely. So mom heads back up to their castle of a house, and like Norman sees mom, like, mom, blood, like, is speechless. So he then heads down to check on Marion and finds her body just laying in the bathroom. So he, to protect his mom, he cleans up the mess, puts her in a body bag, takes all of her stuff, puts her in the car, and puts the car in the swamp.
Yeah. Just drops
with
it.
the $40K of cash.
Because he doesn't know it's there.
Yeah.
She had it wrapped up in a newspaper, and he just grabbed everything from the room.
Yeah.
And so it's like that $40,000 in, like, it seems like, and that's, again, huge twist in this film. Everything up to this point was Marion's a criminal. She stole the $40,000 is the catalyst of this movie.
Yeah. And
if you've never seen of it nor heard of it before, her getting killed here at the end of Act 1 is massive, because it pulls the rug out from under you to where you're left with, what's the movie going to do now?
Right. Like, where's the $40K going now besides the swamp?
Like, our main character just got killed.
Yes.
And there's still an hour of the movie left.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? And it's just genius to be like, well, tune in. Like, you've got even more attention now, because now your viewers are like, I don't know where this is going. Like, no clue what's going to happen. Because again, her body's gone, the money's gone. Nobody knew she was there. So what's going to happen?
Yeah. So now Marion obviously has gone missing, and her sister Lila heads to Sam's house, and she's like, listen, like, we know that Marion stole $40,000, and you have to tell us where she is. And Sam's like, I know nothing about anything.
Right.
Or about her disappearance, which I'm like, man, maybe that's why they're not getting married, because she's been missing and you're not worried that you haven't heard from her.
Well,
like,
he didn't know she was headed out to see him. You know, it's like, he just,
but
I'm in California, you're living your life.
I would hope if Casey didn't hear from me for, a little bit, he'd be like, hey, everything okay?
Right.
Times are different now, though, I guess. Private investigator is hired, and
Arbogast.
And he's like, I'm here to get the money. Stops at Bates Motel, talks to Norman. Norman's, of course, very just jittery and nervous, because he not because he has the money, but because he just kind of helped his mom kill this lady.
Well, yeah, we know he's guilty.
Right.
And even Arbogast is like, seem real fidgety,
you're a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Checks the hotel guest register, sees that Marion's handwriting, even though she used like a fake name, he's like, nope, this is it. Like, I know this.
Yeah.
And and Norman's like, oh yeah, she spoke to my mom.
Yeah.
And so Arbogast is like, well, let me talk to your mom then. And he's like, no, like, you can't. No. Well, guess what? Arbogast
he gets
enters.
ready. He gets ready to leave.
Yeah.
And then he decides, I'm going to go sneak into the Bates house and see what I can find out.
And he's taken out by Norman's mom as well.
Yeah, gets to the top of the stairs. Really cool overhead shot, you know, of the house, which, if you might remember, is a shot used quite often when we watch *Malignant*. This overhead from the top down.
Yeah.
So where do you think they got that idea from?
Yeah.
Psycho. But yeah, Norman's mom comes out of the bedroom and just buries an axe, buries a knife right in his chest. We get this kind of cheesy looking now, but I'm sure really cool, a 1960 like rear projection of Arbogast falling backwards down the stairs. Don't apply physics to that shot, folks. If you fall, your whole body's gonna fall. You're not just gonna angle backwards and fall down an entire flight of stairs. You're gonna hit the stairs and then slide to the bottom.
Yeah.
But not Arbogast. He just rotates his arms a lot to stay.
Floated down.
Yeah.
So Sam and Lila now are on the case because they're like, all right, we've not heard from this private investigator who went to get the money. We've not heard any of this, so they're now heading to Bates Motel.
Yeah.
To look for Arbogast.
Right.
He sees Sam and Sam sees something in the house and he's like, that has to be Norman's mom. So Sam is in talking to Norman.
Yeah.
And the local sheriff. Yeah,
Sam's talking to Norman, and basically Norman's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody's been here, etc. So they go find the sheriff. Lila and Sam do, and this is our very, you know, every horror film has that character with the story. You know, the expositionist. So here, and Sheriff Chambers is that storyteller. He and his wife, they show up, they're talking or whatever, and this is where they're like, well, couldn't have been Norman's mother.
It's not
like,
the mom.
it was the mom. Trust me, couldn't have been. She died 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it dun dun dun, you know, and so it rips out the whole story. Like, yeah, she had a lover, and Norman was jealous, so he poisoned them both. And no. It wasn't that. It was mom and the lover. She killed him and then committed suicide, poisoned herself. So that's the story. He's like, I'll take you to her grave. Like, she's buried in the cemetery.
And he's like, I think you guys got played by Arbogast.
Yeah.
He
took your money.
Him and Marion took the money and disappeared. So they head to the motel, and this is where Sam's talking to Norman.
Yeah.
And
because they did see it, but Yeah. So you're right. Sam,
and so Lila can sneak into the house to see what that figure was.
I'm gonna talk to Norman. You go search the house.
Yeah. And they're talking. Lila's sneaking around the house. Norman.
She goes into the bedroom.
Yes.
Lila does, and there's the room that they saw the silhouette in, and there's the bed, and it's just sunken. Yeah. Like a body is laid in that spot for, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah.
Does that work? I don't know. I don't know enough about mattress design in the 60s to know that if you just lay in the same spot long enough, you're literally just going to indent into because I don't know. Anyway, so Lila, it's really eerie, like finding that mattress. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So Norman is growing suspicious of Sam's motives, and so he's just like, all right, I'm just going to knock you unconscious and head up to the house.
Right. Well, because I think Sam kind of glances. Yeah. He glances
up at the house.
He kind of glances at the house a couple of times, giving Norman a little bit of a heads up. We're like, something's up.
Yeah, and so he walks in. You hear Lila, which this is just where I'm like, with most horror movies, I'm like, just get out now. Because she hasn't found anything. No. It's the perfect layout of the house where you got the upstairs, and then you can there's another set of stairs to go downstairs to the cellar, and she's hiding in the stairs. Norman goes upstairs. It's like, get out of the house. Right. Just go.
You're right. He goes running upstairs, leaving the door open, literally just sprint out of the house.
Go. But no, she's like, I'm going to go downstairs to check in the cellar, where she finds this person sitting in a chair.
She finds an old lady.
Yeah, and so she turns around. Well, to her surprise, it is a mummified, stuffed little taxidermy project that Norman had been making of his mom.
Yeah.
And she screams, and then we get quote-unquote Norman's mom, who walks in.
Who's been doing all the murdering.
Yeah, a.k.a. Norman.
Right.
And he stabs her.
No, he doesn't. He comes running in, knife above his head.
Yes, but Sam comes in.
Thankfully was not unconscious long enough, and he happens to be right behind Norman.
Yes.
Because he came to his consciousness and he said, Lila's in the fruit cellar. And he knew exactly where to go.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he made it in time.
Yes, he missed stabbing her. And we head to the police station.
Yeah. And this is a very long scene.
Yeah.
Like the police station scene. And again, you and I, unfortunately, we do not have the opportunity to see this movie in 1960. Right. So therefore, we already kind of know what's happening, even if you hadn't seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it's Norman. You know that he's his mother. Like, those are the things that you just kind of know going in because of how classic this movie is. And so I'm sure back in 1960, you're watching this because there's no indication who that lady was.
Mm-mm.
And so they do need this psychiatrist explaining everything out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels like this really long explanation.
Like, just get to the cut. Like, yeah.
Right.
So basically, she's like, listen, Norman killed his mom and her boyfriend a decade ago.
Yeah.
That's when she did the murder-suicide.
Yeah, that was Norman. Norman was the one that did the murder and the jealous. Murder.
Yeah. He then couldn't live with himself, so he mummified his mom.
Yes.
And she's still alive. So then we just get this whole backstory of like, so whenever he finds a woman attractive, then this mom takes over
mom's personality.
Yes. And kills people.
Right. Yeah. Or talks about it anyway. It's it's definitely, he's got some mental instability.
Yeah. And he had killed 2 others before he killed Marion and Arbogast. And
because even the cops are like, so Norman's the killer, and the psychiatrist's like, well, yes and no. Like, his body did the killing, but it wasn't Norman's mind that was doing it.
Like it was his mom.
He's got split personality, and it's mother that was acting this out through his body.
Yes.
Like in, I just talked about that movie a minute ago.
Malignant?
Yes, thank you. I'm like, there's an M there. But yeah, it's a little different. Not quite a split personality. Right. It's a split being. But I'm gonna conduct my business through your body. And so all this is going on. The psychiatrist is explaining that it's like Norman's mother has now overtaken Norman's personality. So it's not so much Norman sometimes acts like mom. It's mom's personality sometimes acts like Norman.
And we cut to Norman sitting in a jail cell like, this is all your fault, Norman. Like,
well, even kind of a fun thing right before, like, a police officer comes up to that door. We don't see Norman, but he's got like a cup of coffee. And when he hands it off, it's a very strong female voice going, thank you. As he's handing it to Norman. Yeah. So it's like, even the voice, it's just the attention to detail. And this is great.
Yeah. And then we end the movie with Marion's car being retrieved from the swamp.
Yeah. So that's how it ends. End credits is there, because mother admitted, like, under testimony or whatever, under, or whatever. I can't. I'm such at a loss to say. But when in her interrogation, there we go.
Yes.
She's like, yeah, the bodies are all in the swamp, so they
Yeah.
drained us. They pull it out of the swamp, and there's the car, and Marion's body's going to be in there, and the money's going to be in there, and we're good to go. But yeah. That's Psycho. Again,
that is Psycho.
A movie that if you haven't seen it, you probably at least know what's going on.
Yeah.
Universal Studios out in California has a whole set of the Bates Hotel, the house. They got a cool little like classic car parked out front, and Norman Bates walking back. It's fun. I've seen it. I think you said that was kind of the inspiration for your pick this week.
It's just such a popular classic movie, and
it is
like what's going on, but I'd never seen it, so I'm like, why not? Let's start it out with this, because it like every haunted house you go to, there's a shower in there, and you know what that's coming from. It's like, oh, that's from Psycho, but I've never seen the movie, so I'm like, all right,
it's just so inspirational.
Yes,
like, it has inspired so many tropes in cinema that, like you said, whenever you see a movie that has a shower scene, it's a Psycho. Like they're all the cameras inside the shower. You're looking through some kind of frosted glass or shower curtain. You see it being. It's like even if it's not a killer in that movie,
right?
We already think it's a killer because of Psycho.
Yes, and that like just last week when we did Terrifier 3, it's like shower scene right there.
It's Psycho, and it's like that's the inspiration of a movie like this. So what do you grade this movie?
I'm giving this movie an A, just because I do feel like I have realized more in the time that we've done this, like just the pull that it has on things, and just like how important it is. And it was fun, like you said, the attention to detail on those little things. I'm gonna give it an A. I liked it.
Yeah, it's definitely not scary in today's horror environment. There's only 2 murders, Marion and Arbogast. But, when you play it out in the way they tell the story of, you look at, you've got Janet Leigh is all over the poster, and she's your main character, and we're following her story, and then suddenly she's dead. And you're just like, whoa, I never saw that coming. Like, what's going on there? And so, I agree. I'm going to give it an A+, just because of its connection with the horror genre and the impact it has on so many others. Personally, I feel guilty if it's like, I've given A+ to other movies before.
that it's like far less pull.
Yeah, far less influence than this one. So I feel like it at least deserves that. So, all right. Well, new week, new year, new month, all that fun stuff. And I believe it is time. We've wrapped back around to our Fangoria, movies you've never seen before, but should.
Yes.
And it's time for a shuffle. Are you ready to see what we're going to watch next week?
I am.
We are going to watch 1988's Paper House.
Okay.
Paper House. I've not seen this movie. 1988. It's a dark fantasy film. I don't think I've seen it. If I do, it'll feel like a brand new movie. So Paper House is the movie that it's got an interesting horizontal movie poster to put on our upcoming. So Paper House, I'm not going to read too much about it just because I kind of want to go in blind. Hour and 32 minutes. Not a big budget, made even less money. But Fangoria felt that this is a movie that deserves attention, and so we're going to give it some attention.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys come back next week when we talk about Paper House. Social media wise, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Check out the small doses of the show, and then graduate to the full episode if you'd like. I like looking at the analytics because I'm a big nerd like that. And so we're getting some traction, which is kind of cool to see. You're up to 58 subscribers. Analytically wise, content actually. Well, December was a little tough because, we like Terrifier 3, 240 views.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then the shorts got like nothing, you know? And it is what it is, like whatever. You know, normally it's the other way around. Our shorts get a ton of views and our episodes get a few, but overall it's been a lot of fun. So make sure you guys come back next week to talk about a movie neither of us have seen. I know you've never even heard of it, when we talk about Paper House. So for another episode of Deducation, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.